What's up, guys? Twisty and the Spiz. This is a special interview. Get to know someone. I've seen this dude's name around for a long time. And I think back in the early days of when I was getting back into chiropractic in 2000. When I met this gentleman last week, I said to him, hey, man, you are the preeminent leader when it comes to chiropractic personal injury. There's like the one name. And in fact, that name is so well known that many people have come across trying to do personal injury in chiropractic have all said, well, yeah, I got my first stuff started from this guy. So, I was like, I don't know why we never got to meet. I'm talking about the one and only Dr. Jeffrey Cronk, who is the preeminent leader in PI. And I want to start there, Jeff. Thanks for jamming with me today.
Yeah, no problem.
How'd you get to be the preeminent leader? And when it comes to personal injury, why you?
Okay, great. That's a great question. First, I'll start with what got me to be the preeminent personal injury guy was this green aura that you see around my head. It's a superpower. Actually from the green screen. Now, I'll tell you what, listen, my story is pretty simple, probably like a lot of guys. I got out of school, went into practice, went into a high volume practice, and I thought, I don't know if this high volume is quite the way to go because I didn't understand it. And in hindsight, I just didn't understand it.
Where'd you get out of school?
Palmer College in Davenport, Iowa, in 1988.
88?
Yeah, 88.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
okay.
I've been around for a while.
Okay.
So I went out to Seattle. I was in this practice. I was in the malls practically every weekend doing spinal screenings with Sam's. I was an introvert, so I hated it. You know what I mean? I just didn't. I was like, oh, why am I selling chiropractic in a mall or in a parking lot? So I went out on my own, starved to death. For the first 2 years, was in my office 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Build it, they'll come. They didn't come. Hired a consultant at that time for like $12,500, which was $22,000 in today's dollars to give the audience kind of an idea. Borrowed the money from my dad, and the guy simplified my understanding of what I was doing, both as a chiropractor, but also as a business person. Next year, I made $200,000 from $20,000 to $200,000. And my practice took off. I was
a good investment. Is there anyone we can shout out there, or
no?
They're gone.
They're dead. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So what happened in the following 3 years was that I built a jail. I built a very, very healthy practice. I mean, it was busy, but I was working 70 to 80 hours a week. I couldn't get away. If I got away, I was like, oh my God, I'll lose 10 new patients. I'll lose 220 patient visits. So how could I go on a vacation? So I deprived my family of vacations, all kinds of stuff, because I was so wigged out about the fact that I couldn't leave.
Yeah.
So at that point, I hired an associate. And then I had the problem of, okay, now I got to fill an associate. And I noticed for the first time that my associate, we were doing a little bit of injury work. My associate could see the injury patients, no problem. So it's the first kind of cognition that I had was, wow, on the injury side, the clinic is the brand. On the non-injury side, I'm the brand. And so if I want to create a clinic where I can have somebody come in, it's easier on the injury side. I also decided at that point that I was busy enough and it was lucrative enough that I could start to design the clinic. I didn't have to just take everything.
Did you purposely brand back then, or did it happen by accident?
No, it happened more by accident. If I'm honest with it, It happened more just by going through it because.
But you recognized, okay, the attachment to me on the wellness regular chiro side was if you weren't there and the CA or the staff had to call and say, hey, Dr. Jeffrey's not going to be here today, they're not going to go see the associate.
Correct.
But if they were an injury patient,
no problem.
What was different? Okay, so what did you, you figured that out. What was the biggest, what was different?
Well, I'll tell you what the biggest difference, and you're going to get my opinion on this from experience.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that.
What's the best opinion out there? Because you're the guy.
So the one thing about the personal injury side is you don't have any financial consult with the patient. So the finance, some people look at that and say, I don't like that because it doesn't.
They're not committed.
They're not committed, so it's not going to tie it to long-term.
But they are.
but they are, right? And if you have a system of communication and your communication is good, you can convert them. Because listen, I've been adjusted since I was born.
Yeah.
So I believe that, everybody should be under chiropractic care. That's a good thing. You're born into medical care. The medical doctor has to birth you. The medical doctor has to pronounce you dead. Nobody cares about the fact that you're born into.
But I can feel butt squirming right now, brother.
Why?
Hold on, because that means I'm not important, right?
Oh, no. Oh my.
That's the ego that I can hear chiropractors going, but then they're not going to want me.
Well, I'll tell you what. No, anybody that's in the medical system that's trying to maintain or reclaim their health in the medical system definitely needs a chiropractor.
Yeah. No, I'm going back to this big light bulb moment that hit you, right, in your journey, where you're going, did you deal with the little bit of the ego hit too, though? They're like, oh, but they don't need me. Like, if they're in, like, or you didn't care because you were so burnt out at that point.
No. I had nothing to do about being burned out.
Okay.
Zero to do about being burned. But if I was going to have an associate, I got to get the associate busy because that's his self-esteem.
Yeah. But I can see chiropractors fighting this in there, but then that makes me like, that's the problem of even getting an associate for chiropractic, because they're like, what if I lose them to, like, Gary Vee spoke about this at Parker, I think 2 years ago. He's like, the biggest fear that you guys have is having an associate and they're going to take your people. Right. I'm sure we'll dive into it, but I'm just going through the light bulb moments going, oh man, that's cool.
Well, the thing is, the reason why you and I connected, right, is as long as the focus on the clinic, I don't care how many associates you have, the focus on the clinic has to be results.
Yeah.
You got a results factory. They're coming in, they got headaches, they got neck pain, they got chronic. Ooh. It's a results factory.
Dude.
Do you understand?
Chef's kiss. So you get there, you've started building by accident your results factory, and you pick this up. So then, okay, tell me what happens next. It's you're like, I got it. I'm gonna go teach other chiropractors, or what happened in between?
No, not at that point. So at that point, I decided that I wanted to be in the top 2% of the people in the world, in the country at that time.
Set a goal
that could rehab a spine. So I wanted to be in the top. I realized I had this cognition that I was really busy and that I was making a lot of money, but I knew I was mediocre. I knew I was average, and that there was more that I needed to understand. So I wanted to put myself in the front of the bell curve and be top of the line when it came to rehab, because the patients, an injury patient today, research-wise, 55 to 80% are not going to fully recover. 10-year statistics show that they're going to have the same problems they had originally. So I saw those stats and I knew I could provide much better risk for the patient, risk reduction. So I didn't have to go through that.
Yeah.
And that was what drove everything I did.
How long did it take you to get to that top 2% that you did? When did you hit your goal?
Well, I'll tell you what. So I met a guy named Harold McCoy. Harold McCoy used to have Spinalogic and Myologic Diagnostics. Some of the older practitioners might remember him. He was the first chiropractor to ever be involved with the Olympics.
Okay.
Took care of Evander Holyfield when he won Olympic gold.
Yeah.
He was a behind-the-scenes guy, but he was a big outcome assessment guy. So he had an outcome assessment system. He was selling range of motion, pressure algometry, muscle testing, stuff like that. And kind of like what J-Tech does today.
Okay.
So I went over to his office and I said, look, I want to be in the top 2%. He said, well, first thing you got to know is you got to know about ligament injury, and that's an excessive motion test. So I was like, I don't know what that is. He showed me that. That was like a big aha moment.
Yeah.
He showed me the AMA guides to evaluation of permanent impairment, right? And I thought, okay, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to know about impairment. It said in there that a chiropractic subluxation was a 25% whole person impairment. I was like, oh my God. The AMA has validated what I do for a living way more than my profession has ever validated it.
Yeah.
So then he said, you have to call Burl Pettibon. So I was like, all right, call Burl Pettibon. I called him. I said, hey, I understand you're really good at rehabbing the spines. If you take a spine that has a abnormal curve or has a reverse cervical curve, what's your percentage of correction? How many people do you improve? He said 100%. And there was no hesitation. I was like, that's interesting.
That's
nobody's that fast.
Either it's all bullshit or it was the No, to be that guy. No, that confidence sold you on that. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But he delivered. I mean, he was probably this, I don't know all the greats, but he probably was the smartest chiropractor I've ever met.
I mean, it's Pettibon.
Oh, well, he could take metal sciences and tell you how it reflected into bone repair. I mean, he just was crazy smart.
Yeah.
And he was good at what he did. The only problem I ever had with him, Tristan, and anybody out there will know this, in the first hour, he would hit you with about 200 concepts.
Oh, fire hose.
That
Yeah.
you didn't get, you already lost on the second concept. So by 100, by the end of the hour, it was like, okay, bit of overwhelm.
I'm going to call it now, the smart injury doctor process is starting to develop itself from the work and the mentors and the advisement you're getting. So it's piecing together. So you're getting closer to your goal, right?
Yeah. So along that line, so I had to learn that, how to do the workups and then how to deal with the medical legal. Like I like treating injury patients because I like the risk reduction, the ability to get results, no financial consults. I got paid really well to do it. Now I got to navigate this med legal. They come in, they got an attorney. They got a defense, there's a defense attorney, there's an insurer, there's an IME, there's a utilization review, there's a, bill cutoff, there's a depot, there's a trial. So I had to start to learn to navigate that because that's inherent if you're going to be in this market.
Yeah.
And so objectivity is anything that can be verified. So what I got really good with, Pettibon taught me the ligament was the problem. McCoy taught me the ligament was the problem. He taught me how to test for it.
Yeah.
And then he started to show me the guidelines that supported it and validated it, which became, I don't know, 5 years into it, 6 years into it, I had the top settlement in King County history, which a lot of times I don't really care when somebody says, hey, I have the top settlement, it means the patient did really poor. This was a patient that was 2 years disabled, got into my clinic 6 months later, 95% better and fully employed.
Yeah.
So
that's life-changing.
Yeah. So I got a life-changing event and she got life-changing money and everybody was happy, but everyone won. There was no loser in that case.
So where are we at in your journey year-wise? Is 90 still
So I'm cruising about 99, 2000. I'm now able to understand exactly how to work up. And I didn't realize at that point that I had created a standard workup.
Are people knocking at your door saying, can I pick your brain all the time or no? They don't know.
No, because I'm just operating out of this clinic.
Okay. Got
it. So I'm not trying to be like
a guy. The guru.
I'm trying to get great patient results in my clinic.
Yeah.
So what happened for me to try to make it, so I got really good at it. I got really good at the results. I got really good at the med legal. I got really good at the depots. I got good at the trials. I got good at all of it. Right. But just to give you an example, in this trial, a week before the trial, the lead attorney comes to me and he says, hey, we're going to get killed. I'm like, oh, that's a good pep talk. You know what I mean? It's like, they got the top medical expert is going to testify against you in court. I said, that's great. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, you're the one asking the questions. I wish I could ask the questions, but you're the one that's going to have to be asking the questions. So the line of questions they're going to ask me is, Dr. Cronk, you're not a medical doctor, right? You admit a person to a hospital, right? You can't do. I said, good. So you're going to have to, remember, this patient's disabled with 2 years of medical care. So I want you to have him explain like why medical care was so deficient in this case. And you're going to have to separate them out. Did you go to a chiropractic college? No. Have you ever adjusted a person? No. Have you ever done any education on adjusting a patient? No. Have you ever gone any seminars for adjusting a patient? No. I did about 15 or 20 questions that he peppered him with. And he said, okay, is it safe for anyone in this courtroom to understand that you're not a chiropractor, or you're not an expert on chiropractic? There's no way he could say yes.
Yeah.
Good. So now all he can talk about is the failed medical care. Yeah. Do you understand?
Genius. So
for whatever reason, Tristan, I got good at that kind of stuff of the logic of being able to go, okay, we need to stay on offense instead of having to, and that's what I teach doctors today to do. Instead of having to defend everything, as chiropractors, we don't have to defend how effective we are. The other side has to defend how effective they are, and they can't.
So I see a JD after your name. When did that happen?
2013, long time after that.
Okay. So we're in the 2000s. You're really good.
Yep. Okay. So
obviously social media is starting to come around in a couple of years. I'm assuming, I don't know if I'm fast tracking, but
it's Google.
Yeah.
Google just out of the garage in 98.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So let's really set it up.
Yeah. So you got, where do we start? Cause I start hearing your name probably about 2008, 2009 from, at least back in my doctor base days.
Yeah. So,
So
I sold a practice. And at that point, I decided that I wanted to standardize spinal injury workups. And the only way I could do that is by setting up an excessive motion testing company. Some people have heard that as like posture ray software. where you get the excessive motion, or you've heard of medical metrics, or you've
So
heard
you
of
sold your clinic and got obsessed with this.
I got obsessed with it. Well, actually, I sold my my clinic story is my dad had a liver problem and nobody could solve it. He was the president of a bank. He took a bank from 40 million to 300 million, and he was 63 years old, and he thought the car should be in the closet.
Yeah.
So he thought he was going in early dementia. It took a year, and I was home. I was a workaholic my whole life. So I was home for a weekend. I'm flying back. I pick up Bridges of Madison County. This is when this book came out. All my female patients were reading it. So I thought, all right, I'll pick this up and get some reality on what this is all about. Yeah. I'm reading this book and I'm sitting.
Go ahead, brother. I love to you, man. Love to you, dude.
It's just so easy to bring the emotion back up. So I'm reading this book and I realize that I'm only seeing my dad like 2 days out of the year. And if he lives another 10 years, I only got 20 days left with him.
Yeah.
And he was like my best friend. So it was like, I had this midlife crisis where I was like, no, I'm selling everything. I'm moving back to be closer to my family. So however long he's with my he's with my kids.
Shit, dude, you just hit something right there, man. I'm feeling that, dude.
Well, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, so that's what I did. And in doing it, I said, do I want to go back into clinic or do I want to go into excessive motion testing? I decided I wanted to go into excessive motion testing, which was and is one of the hardest business I ever did.
Okay.
But that's what I started. So when you heard me in 2008 or 9, it was through a company called National Injury Diagnostics. Anybody that knew me at 2010, it became Spinal Kinetics.
I remember Spinal Kinetics. Yes, I do.
And in 2008,
did it allow you time to get freedom with your dad? Did it do that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it allowed us. I probably didn't need to do it as like abruptly. But I'm doing it that way. It's like
the source was calling you and told you to go.
Well, I sold our house. I sold rental. I sold everything. Anyway, honey, we're leaving.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I got into it. You probably met me through the excessive motion testing because, that's one of the things that I'm proud of is that I hung in for a very long time and I still do today. Excessive motion testing for your audience. Look, the spine has 3 parts to it. It's got bone, it's got ligaments, and it's got discs. Discs herniate, bones fracture, and ligaments cause excessive motion. Mm-hmm. So without an excessive motion test, you can't determine how badly damaged the spine is. But there's all kinds of nuances in the excessive motion testing. Not all excessive motion testing is the same. So I had to cruise through all of that. For example, Tristan, when I bought my first system, it was faulty. Even though it was a system everybody was using at the time, it was calculating incorrectly. So I had to correct that company, which I did. And, we were like, oh, wow, what about the 1,000 users that, had been using this for the last 10 years? So it's
updated.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because every system that I got involved with, I had to correct until I built my own. Then we built it from scratch and it was,
obviously you were put on this earth to do that from every level.
I don't know. That's one of those things, Tristan, where I went, that wasn't what I was really buying into, but I had to because it was the direction I was going.
Yeah. So Spinal Kinetics, you're how did chiropractors respond in those days to this to Spinal Kinetics? Was it easily adopted? Was it receptive? Was there a lot of naysayers or?
Well, it was challenging because they didn't understand it. Still challenging today because they don't understand it. So you and I talked earlier, 99% of the market in the spinal injury market today does not know what a spinal injury looks like. So if I say dog bite, they get a picture. If I gunshot wound, they can describe it perfectly. If I say spinal injury, it's kind of blank.
Yeah.
These cause the first, fourth, and sixth leading cause of chronic pain and disability in the world today. So it took me about 12 years of educating to realize that I needed to undercut, and start with, okay, let's start with what a spinal injury looks like. And then let's build, once you understand what the injuries look like.
Did the subluxation side crew, like the straights, did they fight you or did they, I'm just trying to get.
A great question.
Yeah, I'm just curious. And did the school, I'm assuming did any school be like, hey, this sounds great. Like we should be teaching this to our kids, right?
Well, and that can be kind of confusing, but it's not confusing when you think about this.
Okay.
There's no formalized education. So no chiropractor that's listening to our podcast today has had any formalized education on spinal injuries.
which is crazy to me.
Correct. Now, it's the same for medical doctors. It's the same for doctors of osteopathy. It's the same for doctors of PT. So no one's had any form. The first, fourth, and sixth leading cause of chronic pain and disability, nobody's had any education on them.
Okay.
Okay. So when you go to the subluxation, if I pull up a 1915 textbook, it's going to state that you can't have a subluxation without trauma. So trauma is technique agnostic. It doesn't interfere with anybody's technique.
Yeah.
And for me, and now my experience in teaching injury work, it just gets the doctor of chiropractic to understand even better what they're doing. You know what I mean? So you can't, it just sums it up. You can't have a subluxation. Well, the book summed it up. I'm good at using somebody else's, so you're not attacking me.
Yeah.
And I find that to be true. You look at those old images of, an L4 and an L5, and the L4 slipped way out. And I used to say, well, there's a casing. There's the casing of ligaments there that had to be damaged or hyperstretched or something.
Yeah.
So, that's how it aligns with trauma is the foundation of all of chiropractic.
Yeah. And for those that are out there, all your whiskey drinking and other things too, if you want to, no, I'm just joking around with my crew out there. Okay. So we get that you're revolutionizing, innovating in this space. That's what I'm taking my words for what I'm hearing. And then give us where you're going, because all of a sudden, I'm seeing probably around, if my memory serves me correct, 2017, when I come back on the scene, I'm like, that's the guy. Like if there's one guy that's like who can help you, who has helped, I know hundreds and thousands of people to be the better personal injury chiropractor. Am I on the right trajectory of your story, or?
Yeah, no. That's well, when I was running the excessive motion testing companies, I was educating so people understood the product. I didn't realize we created a product that people didn't understand. So I was like, damn, don't do that. You want to have a product, at least people understand it.
Again, we're speaking to the choir.
Exactly. But, it's interesting that you say that, Tristan, because it takes me in a little different direction. If I look at, and I'm a simpleton. Chiropractic philosophy is alignment improves function. I can define it all in 3 words.
Yeah.
Right? You got a bad marriage, you got to align it. You got a bad business flow, you got to align it. You got a, bad business arrangement, you got to align it. Yeah. You got a bad spine, you got to align it. So alignment improves all the functions. So we as a profession sometimes don't realize or practice we have to be aligned. The more aligned we are, the more functional we are in the market. Now, challenge to align chiropractic market, to me, it needs a chiropractor, a main chiropractor, which we haven't had for a while. So it's in the area of injury work. A spinal injury is the same person to person. So if I took your forearm right now and I burned it with a blowtorch, first, you wouldn't have me back next week. But if I burned it, the burn is the same no matter what provider it goes to.
Right.
Okay. A spinal injury is the same no matter what provider it goes to. So the workup should be the same. So when I looked at it, if chiropractors would align in the standardization of their workups, it's an area where you start to align.
It's our biggest challenge across the board from every level it's the Wild West, which makes it also beautiful in a weird way too, because it's the Wild West. It's always stayed the Wild West, right?
It is, but those Wild West guys, if you said, do you have a 6-gun? Yes. Is there only 6 bullets in it? Yes. Yeah. Okay, so we're aligned.
Yeah.
No matter how much we disagree, the gun in our holster only holds 6 bullets. So we find points of agreement, and that's how you start to align. And
I asked the question about the straights and the stuff because my journey in the last 8 years has been that group has been anti-personal injury, or I felt that they were like either closeted personal injury, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or vocally out there like, no, that's ambulance chasing, whatever the narrative that they pushed out there. And I'm going, we talked about this offline the other day, as I'm like, my argument is like, well, aren't these the sickest of the sick? Aren't you the same people that say we want to work with the sickest of the sick? And I don't know, maybe I'm misconstrued, and that's just been the journey that I've been on with the communities I've been around. But I mean, do you see that to be true, that it's more that straight kind of chiro is more ignorant on personal injury stuff?
Here's what I do.
Yeah.
Is an injury patient needs the best doctor that they can possibly work with. And if that's a straight, so if you say to me, and I'm not aware of the straights not wanting to be in the injury side of it,
that doesn't sound, that doesn't resonate. That's not something that you've heard, felt, or seen, or
it doesn't surprise me,
okay.
and I could make some assumptions, but I'm kind of
Yeah.
like, I don't really care what you do. If you're
I
good,
just,
no,
I think some of the greatest chiropractors are straight NUCA, like NUCA, Atlas orthogonal, and there's a segment of those groups of dudes and dudettes that just like, no, I don't do. I'm like, why?
right. Well, you and I, getting back to chiropractic results,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what you look like. You're bald, you're big, you're small, you're activator, you're just
yeah,
diversified, you're CBP. It doesn't matter. It's the results that matter. And I'm one that says, if you want to really help injury patients and you want to be the best at the results, then you have to understand the condition that you're treating
yeah.
and how to work it up, because it does have some med legal implementation. You have to work it up medical legal. And that's easy. That's not hard. That's actually, it's easier than Medicare documentation. I mean, injury documentation is some of the easiest documentation there is.
Really?
It's easy. The only way well, when I say it's easy,
Maybe because your system's good.
no, well, I can say it's easy because I've gone through the confusion and the difficulty of it and gotten to the other side.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like today there's a lot of experts, right? And you go,
Well, that's what I was saying. A lot of the experts that I know are people that have gone through your stuff. So,
yeah, well,
I mean,
and that's fine. That's like I'm trying to standardize stuff, and people are going to take it. I like it when people attribute things back. I'm really big. If anybody trained with me, I'm big on attributing back to the places where I got.
I appreciate that. I just, and I'm not trying to sit. I mean, I am one of the biggest shit stirrers in the profession, but I'm not trying to shit stir, but I'm also trying to give credit where credit's due,
Exactly. But no, it's funny. You take that expert, and there's a lot of book experts. There's a lot of, experts. And when I question them, they don't have experience in the very narrow thing that I'm talking about. So you could have an MIT professor, right? Knows everything there is to know about building a bridge. He can tell you every single fact, all the data. You put him out on a bridge site, he's lost. He can't build a bridge. So therefore, he can't differentiate what's important and what's not important, because the guy that builds the bridge or the gal that builds the bridge knows that 95% of their education was not really all that important.
Yeah.
But they know the 5% that matters in order to get results. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
And so, yeah, go ahead.
We're going to have you on again, dude. I mean, I think you're going to be a regular contributor on the Spiz. And this is an area I told you about before outside that I'm like, it's very important to me, especially with a couple segments of the audiences that I have, which, include the straight chiro who is either undecided, because as Roger Stone said, your job is not to get people from left to right, it's get them from left to undecided. And my purpose today of this interview really is to help for those people out there that might be I'm undecided if I should, I've been told by gurus, coaches, things that I see and read on, like, be cash practice, don't do this, don't do, like, personally. And again, I'm an advocate of, like, well, they're the sickest of the sick. And you have, on the Smart Industry Doctor, the only PI system you'll ever need, and it's guaranteed. So I am prone to being like, hey, if I'm going to find the right people, and I consider you to be, like I said, the preeminent person, I want to push them your direction, because, like, it just is like the no brainer thing for me. Like, why would I not want them to be more successful and help more sick people and help chiropractic stand better on its own? Talk to me about what your system is and how you do help those types of chiropractors. We'll talk about different segments as we keep going and stuff, but I just want, for that segment, maybe that's us. Maybe you're like, dude, I don't want to deal with that segment. They're undecided.
No, that's fine. So look, anybody can go out to our site, smartinjurydoctors.com. I try to make it as easy as possible. I mean, I have a personal injury blueprint course that teaches them what the injuries look like. It's probably the best spinal injury. I'm going to blow my own horn. It's probably the best.
Permission to blow.
It's by far, it's the best, simplest spinal injury course. It's $27, less than a steak dinner.
Yeah.
Where they can get in and they can go, okay, I think this guy's onto something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What I do all day long, Tristan, is I show doctors a niche in the injury market. So the thing that people hate about the injury market, I hate about the injury market. I hate the mills. Okay. I hate the games that get played in the injury market. I hate the fact that there's all this money, but results are never even spoken about, right? I detest that part of the market.
Yeah.
The games. And I detest the part of the market where chiropractors get in and they're like treated as second-class citizens and they kind of buy into doing it that way.
Yeah.
Right? They get marginalized, minimalized, reduce their bills, the whole 9 yards. Okay. So what I do is I end up showing doctors a niche within the personal injury market that they can quickly assert and become an expert in because there aren't any experts in it. If I say it as it's the ligament portion of it, but most doctors out there just go, well, yeah, I deal with a cervical sprain all the time. It's like, yeah, but that's not it. So it's the largest market in all of healthcare. So it's not just, like you and I were talking, the auto injury market. Yes, we help doctors get more auto injury patients, but the home injury market is 5 times that size.
Dude, no one ever talks about this.
Correct.
Okay.
The public places market is twice the size of the auto injury market. It's just, they don't come in with an attorney. Well, on the public places, they might, but your sports injuries, right? They don't come in with an attorney.
Yeah.
Right? Your home injuries, they don't come in with, so it's different, but.
Oh.
Do you understand?
Yeah. Good insights, dude.
It's a much larger market. When I tell doctors, when you really.
It's much bigger than personal injury.
Way. And you have to remember, if I say 80% of the people don't fully recover, well, that's what's walking into your straight chiropractic office. Hey, I've had neck pain now for 6 years. Well, do the consult. How did you get it? Well, I don't know. I had 2 car accidents, one when I was this, one when I was that. And it kind of started there. Okay. So you're dealing with the remnants always of trauma.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So when you understand the trauma workup, you also understand the chronic pain workup. And you don't have a clinic large enough to support the local need of the people that need your services.
We're gonna have you on for if you're down with it for being on regularly. Is that cool with you, Doc?
Oh, listen, Tristan, I just appreciate the fact that you give me a chance to communicate because this
is big. This is a big light bulb moment for myself, and it's very rare that I have that. I go, man, I've been pigeonholing this injury into personal injury myself and thinking just that. So I hope everyone else is having those light bulbs. So if someone that's one stage level, there's so many things we can dive into, but like working with you, you said there's a $27 thing on the website, but what do most people work with you deeper levels on? I'm assuming there's deeper.
Just to be pretty brief or to go through it, I have a program that has 4 parts to it.
Okay.
One, there's the clinical part. So I got to get you clinically right and legally tight pretty quick.
Clinically right and legally tight. I like that.
So clinically right is you're understanding the injuries, you're understanding how to standardly work it up, and then you're understanding your role is to get great results with this. Okay. The second part is the med legal part. So I have to get you to understand the med legal part. And the med legal part, just like when I saw the AMA, somebody out there will say, hey, 25% whole person impairment for a thing called alteration motion segment integrity. I'm back in 95. I'm going, oh my God. The AMA says I got a subluxation and it's going to negatively affect 25% of their activities of daily living. Like, this is the best stuff I've ever seen. And I'm fixing this.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, put this out front. So there's a lot of guidelines that show the consensus of just how significant these conditions are, but you're never going to spend you have to find a geek or somebody like me that spends a whole lot of time reading this stuff because it's not anything you ever want to read.
Yeah.
So I tie a lot of guidelines together very quickly for you. For an example, most chiropractors, you're dealing with soft tissue injury, right? Which is the soft tissue is only the disc or the ligament. So you're dealing with the ligament injury. Well, probably depending on what you're using, about 25% or more of your injury patients are going to be qualified for spinal fusion surgery under spinal fusion surgery guidelines. Now, that just means that that's one hell of a bad injury. I don't have to explain it to the outside market.
Yeah.
I just have to present it.
Got it.
And then I have to stabilize it so they don't have that surgery.
Got it.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that's the clinical side. Once we have the clinical side intact, then I very quickly show you how to we take brand materials that we branded, that we wrote, to start to engage and market to your patient base what makes you unique. Most clinics today, Tristan, have tons of assets within their practice. I'll give you, I just got off the phone Friday. Last Friday. Guy's got 10,000 patients in his database. He sees about 1 to 2 injury patients, maybe a month. And I was like, well, one of the things you got to realize is you have 1,100 injury incidents in that database every year, but you're not communicating anything back to it. You're not. So in the internal, I show you how to do that, which should pull, a lot of practices will pull 2 to 4 or more injury patients a month just right out of their database. Now, for some, that's seriously changes you financially. External marketing is the third part.
And this is from an introvert, as you said earlier.
This is from an introvert. Yeah. Okay. Boy, if you heard me oh my God, I used to sweat in consultations just because I was sitting alongside another person.
So I think that's the other big thing for this type of stuff is the shyness of a lot of chiropractors are great artists, but they're shy artists, if that makes sense, you know?
Listen, yeah. I mean, if you said, are you an introvert? Yeah, I'm still an introvert. I'm just an extroverted introvert now. Do you know what I mean? I'm more, but so externally, what I do then is show you how to go out into the market organically, not paid, organically.
Yep.
So that your social media is lining up with what your messaging is.
Yeah.
And I didn't either. I sucked at this at first. I didn't have something that was simple that you could say that was like you'd call it a USP, a unique selling proposition. That's like a clear sentence or two that explains what it is you do and what's your value very quickly. So I help doctors establish that. And we have a fourth component, which is called, in the third component, the external marketing, I teach you how to do professional presentations.
Nice.
Fourth part's all about follow-up. So, and it's a system. And not to get too, you could probably tell, I get excited about this stuff, but you're learning how to attract, convert, leverage, retain, and systemize, which is the key to any business.
Yeah.
So it's just, the biggest thing I'd say for anyone listening is when you get out of the world of no financial consults, I can have a family of 3. I remember going, I'm selling cash plans and I know that they can't afford all 3 of them can't afford it. So now the husband or the wife or somebody's got to make a decision. Like who's going to not get it at first? And that used to kill me. You know what I mean? On the injury side, you get to do whatever you want to do to get that patient well. And there's generally no out of pocket to the patient ever. So it's beautiful.
I'm sure wealth of knowledge goes down the journey of federal injury stuff too. Is that an area that you?
Well, the injuries are the same. Whether they're
injuries are the same. Okay, got it. Okay,
yeah,
but you can help docs with that regard too, like of paperwork and forms, because that's one of the biggest things out there right now. I see that they're just like, wait, I can do that. I don't know how to do that.
Well, what my area would be is how to get them more federal work through the outlets that are going to refer to them, because usually they're dealing with a HR or somebody that's going to has to make that decision.
Cool. I got to have you on again. We got so much rabbit holes to go through, but I want to ask you one question before we go today. Bringing up your dad sounded like he did some pretty badass stuff as a business person himself.
Yeah.
What was the biggest lesson you learned from your father when it comes to doing business?
It was a lesson that I learned that had good parts to it and not so good parts to it. So the good part was my dad taught me work ethic.
Okay.
My dad was a grinder.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize is he was grinding because he wasn't creative enough to get out of the grind. Okay. So I was a grinder. Oh my God, you're never going to outwork me, Tristan.
Yeah.
Now, was I efficient at how I was working? No, not always. I was more proud of being a grinder.
Yeah.
But I'd have to say the biggest thing that he gave me was this incredible work ethic, because I never saw him miss a day of work.
You can. My password used to be tenacity when I still believe in that. There still is that to that degree of you never. I respect and appreciate. There's a lot of similarities we've shared so far, but we both book our Fridays and Mondays the same.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool too.
I'm really, so, hey, I'm grateful. Hey, I want to encourage any of my listeners to get over to the website is smartinjurydoctors.com. Correct? Am I right with that?
Smartinjurydoctors.com. There's a number right at the bottom. If you want to call us, you want to say, hey, I want a free book. I want to get in this $27 course, or I want to have a call with Dr. Cronk to find out more about the program. They would just call that number and set it up with us.
Awesome. highly recommend, highly endorse right now. I want to say thank you for jamming, and we're going to have you on again soon. Go down some other rabbit holes that I've been wanting to explore, but I really, really appreciate you jamming today, Doc.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I really appreciate you wanting to go down the rabbit holes, because they're the same rabbit holes that I've wanted to find somebody to go down with too. So I appreciate you, Tristan.
Thanks.
Yeah.